Electricast.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to our Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Becky Davidson. Becky has spent over 40 years in sales, marketing, and sales leadership, building numerous businesses across B2B and B2C industries. Her passion is helping struggling and striving sales professionals fall in love with their business while developing marketable skill sets and increasing effectiveness in sales. Throughout her journey, Becky has led multiple sales organizations to success, earning accolades such as Rookie of the Year, Top Salesperson of the Year, Team Leader, Sales Manager, Top Recruiter, and awards for performance excellence, including 6 free cars through incentive programs. Over the past 2 decades, she's trained thousands of individuals, and her greatest passion lies in equipping sales professionals with practical tools and actionable strategies that drive success while fostering confidence and growth. Becky, I am really excited to have you on the show today, so welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for asking.
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I've known you for a while. I've been following you. I love what you do. And so I'm just going to get right into it. So you've spent decades building a legacy in sales, leadership, and mentoring others. But what I love most is how you've taken all of that and you've turned it into a passion for coaching others to fall in love with sales again. So can you share what drew you into this work, maybe even sharing some moments or experiences that have shaped the way you now lead and support sales professionals?
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, thank you again. I'm super excited because I am passionate about sales and helping people equip them with skill so that they can grow their business more effectively. So when I got into sales 40 years ago, I was 19. It was actually a touch over 40 years, but I was 19 and I was not great in sales. I did not know how to sell. I didn't know what a close was or handling objections. I didn't know how to prospect. I There's a saying in sales, even a blind squirrel can get a nut every now and again. And I'll be honest, I was the blind squirrel because I knew nothing about sales, but I was coachable, I was hardworking, and I wanted to win. I wanted to succeed. And I wanted to do it in a different way. I didn't want to be that stereotypical used car salesman type of personality. So my first few years, it was a struggle. I had to learn, I had to develop, and I managed to get some hits. I managed to have some moderate success, but it really was just because I was taking action. And I got into a 1099 sales position, a straight commission sales position, where I really struggled, but I persevered. And personal development, I actually took the Dale Carnegie sales course at the time, which was a 3-month in-person training. And I came in second place, and it really equipped me with the confidence and the skill and the framework to take my sales career from average and okay to start winning all the cars and the trips and all the accolades that I got. And it just it was so rewarding. It felt so good being a struggling person and then all of a sudden having the skill set to win. And they, in fact, asked me back as a graduate assistant. So I spent another 3 months training people. And that's where I really fell in love with mentoring people in sales. And the 40 years that I've been in sales, I have been studying the art of psychology, sales psychology, ethical influence, communication skill, how to more effectively lead people to decisions where people don't feel like they're being sold, where they don't feel that salesy feeling of that stereotypical salesperson. And I've studied it and I've fallen in love with it. But there's a lot of people out there that are not great at it or struggle with it or get in their head about it, get their mindset holds them back. And so my passion is really to equip those people and help them to fall in love with it and give them the skill set so that they can grow their business and have confidence, have success, and win in whatever arena they're in.
I love what you said about your journey and, being like that open, honest, like, I started here and I wasn't great. In fact, not even maybe even liking it. I know that my first experience in sales, I was, I believe, 17 because I worked in a call center. I was paying for my driving school. And so I worked in a call center and I was awful because if someone said no, it was like, okay. And I'd hang up. There was
Me
no
too.
further communication. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I just felt like, okay, they don't want to talk. They're not interested. Okay, next.
Yep.
And that
Huh.
that wasn't, obviously they didn't like that my approach to it. But I was there for 3 months and I paid for my driving school and that was fine. But I want to ask you, was there a point in your journey where, because I know the way you teach and really how you want people to fall in love with sales, like to fall in love with it in a way that it's not about pushy, buy this, all about me mentality. But was there a time where you believe that success in sales became more about than just more about something else, more about that authentic person, more than just the numbers?
Yeah, I was very numbers driven at points in my career because when you work for a company, they force you to be numbers driven. They're watching your numbers. They're,
Mhm.
kind of grading you against other people. I am competitive. So there is a numbers equation to sales. But what changed for me, and I'll give credit, I mean, I am a personal development junkie, books, training, lessons. And one book that really changed things for me was a book called Go Givers Sell More, and it's by Bob Berg. And it's all about giving, having the giving heart. Giving starts the receiving process. And it really gave me a shift in the whole sales process that selling isn't something you do to someone. It's not something, and early in my career, I just wanted to convince everyone. I just want to talk people into it. If I say enough stuff, maybe they'll buy. And when I had that shift, it was like, I want to serve people. I wanna bring value to people. I wanna connect. And the core, the number one thing that everyone has to have in sales to be really good is, in my opinion, you have to genuinely like people. You have to genuinely like to help people and bring value to people because at the end of the day, people buy wants and needs. They want things, they need things. And if you can't understand what they want and need and understand why they want and need it, and really get on their side of the table, you're gonna have a harder time selling.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. I think, and being just not that person who sounds like you're reading from a script, meaning like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going through all of these questions. Instead, just make it about having kind of like how I look at these conversations, like sitting across from a person, having a cup of coffee or tea, and just sitting down and just talking to the person and getting to know them, because that's when you can actually get to know a person's wants and needs a little more effectively when you're not making it all about like, well, this is what I have to sell them, and I just got to see like, do they fit in that model? And it becomes less about making the sale, but more about, like you were saying, giving to that person, which then in turn, people will feel that from you. Like Maya
Mm,
Angelou says, I believe it's something like they don't remember specifics. I can't remember exactly the quote, but the last part of the quote that Maya Angelou says is that they'll remember how you make them feel. So
right.
I love that because it is true. And I would imagine so in sales. So yeah, thanks so much for
Yeah.
answering that questions. One of the things I want to ask you, when it comes to sales, it can still feel to me like it's the hustle and grind mentality, just from just depending, I guess, on who you're watching or who you're listening to, who you're following. And so when someone hits a point where they feel tired, maybe they're uninspired, they're disconnected from their work, especially if they're working hard or been pushing hard in sales, what's your advice for someone who may have lost that spark and they want to reconnect with their why they started their business?
Mm, that's a great question. And one thing I found, and I definitely evolved in 40 years, there was a lot of evolution of Becky because I really felt in the early years, it was like when I was at a sales call, it was like going into battle. I was going to say or do anything I could to close a sale because that was what my expectation, that was what I was paid to do. But as I got more seasoned and better at selling, what I learned was, and for me, and I think for everyone, sales doesn't have to be a grind. It shouldn't be a grind. We're meeting and connecting with people, we're building relationships. And for me, I have to have fun. If I'm having fun doing it, I sell more, I have more success. And I just want to share one little story because this is when I had really the kind of the aha moment. I took a sales job 10, 15 years ago, and it was a digital marketing company. And I came in like in October. My first month, I had a really first month and a half, I had a really good first month and a half. Then January hit. The month of January, I was grinding. I was holding the appointments. I was doing the deal. I was working. And typically they expected us to close 3 to 5 sales a week. That was kind of our expectations. And at the end of the month, I literally had closed, I think, like 2 sales, and they expected us to do 3 to 5 a week. Well, you can imagine, and this was a new position, I was a little stressed out. And the more stressed I was, the harder I was grinding and I was working and I was running and I was, oh my gosh, I got to see more appointments. I got to talk to more people. And I was doing the appointments and the numbers. And all of a sudden, we were getting ready. In about a month, we were going to a corporate meeting, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're going to be like, why did we hire this person?" And what happened was, I all of a sudden realized that I wasn't having fun. I was going out and it was a job that I had to do, and I had to, like, I was back in battle again. I was trying to push things to happen. And I said to myself, it was the end of the month. I was like, Becky, stop it. You're doing the work. You know sales. You know what to do. You know how to lead conversations. Start having fun. And the next month, I did the same thing. I didn't even work as hard, but I made it fun. I made it fun for the calls I was on. I didn't take it as seriously. I wasn't stressing out and, freaking out over things. And I was number one in the company that month. And so I went from, struggling to then the next month, we had probably about 45, 50 sales reps, and I was number one in the month that month. And so that's what happens if we're too serious and grinding too hard. And I even earlier than that, I remember one of my mentors, my boss, he owned a company. It was also advertising. And I've always been a hard worker. I take my job very, very seriously. And one time my mentor, my boss was like, Becky, you've got to, slow down. Your clients can see the stress lines on your forehead and they're not going to buy from you if you're like, I got to get the sale. I got to get a sale. No one buys from a desperate salesperson. So I have personally learned that you have to have fun. You have to take time to really rest and, recharge your batteries, do personal development, really feed yourself, fuel your mind and your body. Because I always tell people sales, there's 3 pillars: mindset, skill set, and action. And you really have to manage all 3 of those.
Yeah, I love that. I love your answer. And I love the fact that you're being so open about your experience because not a lot of people will show behind the scenes. They show how they're successful now. And I don't know if it's just a fear to be seen as not someone to show that would be showing a flaw. And to me, I would like to see the flaws. And the reason, and I'm not saying flaws, I want to see the experience because to me, that brings that connection piece a little easier that I can say, oh, I can trust this person. They've been down a path, maybe not the same one as I have, but they've had a journey and they found a way through. And I can now look to that person, based on their experience to help me with
Yeah.
that. Right. And I know, like, so for you, and we've been talking a lot about this right now, but you've been talking really that selling with authenticity without feeling pushy is really important to you. And I know that. And for those of us who love to serve others, sometimes there's that hesitation when it comes to selling again. And I think you kind of hit right on the nail on the head when you said taking it away from being fun into being stressful. Of course, it's going to feel hard. So, how do you help people fall in love with sales and approach it in a way that feels aligned and genuine?
Okay. All right. That's a good question. And I will just to answer or to respond, you had mentioned, that I was sharing a little bit of behind the scenes. And I was the person that would only show the winning side of me. I always wanted people to see that I was always just winning when I was younger. I mean, I was that person. But what I have found is first off, everyone struggles. Everyone has ups and downs. I mean, you're a robot if you don't, right? And for me, showing people that it's okay to struggle and persevere and learn from, your ups and downs is more valuable than just hopping from mountaintop to mountaintop and win to win. And so I really truly want to give people hope. But to go back to your question, how do I teach people to have fun? Well, I teach skill set. I teach people a framework. And when people have confidence, when they feel that they have a framework that they can rely on that doesn't feel salesy, doesn't feel pushy, and and works and helps people close sales without being pushy, they can get excited about it. Because that's the thing. A lot of people that are not good in sales, or maybe they're entrepreneurs, they feel like they're not good in sales or they haven't done a lot of sales. They get in their head overthinking, I don't want to be pushy. I need to make money. I don't want to be pushy. And they end up doing nothing at all. And they haven't been taught. And so a lot of people are just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping something sticks. And sometimes they're struggling, they're not closing sales, they're not having success. And that is not fun. If you're working hard and not closing sales, it's not fun. But if I can give them a framework that feels good, that doesn't feel pushy, that actually leads conversations to decisions by asking the right question at the right time to get the right answer, all of a sudden sales is fun. I just had a
Yeah.
client this past week. She's in last week. She was talking about last week. She held 4 selling appointments, closed all 4 of those selling appointments. Now, when she started working with me 3 weeks earlier, she's like, "Oh, if I could just start closing, 1 sale a week, I'd be happy." Just, she she was struggling in sales. Now I gave her a framework. She held 4 appointments and closed all 4 of them. Now, you can't deny that's fun. When you're helping people,
Absolutely.
when you're winning clients, and the best part of it, the way I teach, is to sell from their side of the table. You don't want to have that combative sales approach. You want to get on their side of the table so that you can help them figure out what the best solution is for them. Then they trust you. Then you are figuring it out together. And that is so much more rewarding for entrepreneurs, but that just really want to serve people.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I want to shift it to you for a couple of minutes because you've built your career in high performance environments for 40 plus years. So, how have you learned to manage your time and energy so that you don't burn out, especially during busy seasons or big pushes in business?
Well, I love my job, first off. I always have. To me, that is fun. I'm very competitive. I like playing games and I love people. I love connecting with people. And if I wasn't doing this, I don't know what I would do because this is really okay. I'd spend time with my grandson or my grandkids, definitely do that. But I really, really, truly, truly enjoy it. But for me, Yes, I do. There are things that I like to do, and I always say, if there's things that you know that you need for your mental sanity, for your personal enjoyment, put them on your calendar. You have to use your calendar. You can't just, because my calendar will get filled up. It does very, very easily. So I have to block the time that I want off. I have to put it on my calendar, the things that I know that I want to do. If I want to go Friday afternoons, and I was just thinking about this today, it was like, you know what? I think for the summer, I'm going to just knock off at noon on Friday. Friday afternoons is going to be grandchildren because they're, half an hour away, and I have 2 little grandsons, and I love spending time with them and going to the park and going to the zoo. So I love that. That's one of the things that really fills me up. So just putting it on your calendar and making it happen, because the more you fill yourself up, the more you can fill other people up. Because as coaches and leaders, we're always depleting our cup. We're always getting holes in our cup. But then also the other thing, when you fill someone else's cup up, it also fills your own cup. So I truly believe the more I pour into other people, I'm pouring into myself at the same time. So I love that. And I also am a big believer in gratitude and really staying in a place of gratitude every day. I have what I call graffirmations. I write them every day, 10 graffirmations. And that just keeps me at that place I need to be, to not beat myself up. Because in sales, I just did a post. It's one of the only professions that we get paid to fail most of the time. I mean, most of our conversations are going to be no, I'm not interested. No, not now. No, I don't need it. No, I've already got someone. And so we do get a lot of rejection, probably more rejections than wins. And that's what the job is really sifting and sorting through those and being able to kind of go through them without letting them tear us down and beat us down and get discouraged. So
Yeah. I love that. I love the fact that you said you put yourself first on your calendar. I truly believe that self-care in whatever form that looks like for you should be on your calendar first, because then everything else you can fill it in, because there's only one of you and there's multiple things that you do. So if you don't take care of yourself, if you overcommit yourself, and you don't take time to recharge, if you don't take those, like you were saying, you want to take your Friday afternoons off. If you don't structure your time in that you're intentionally saying this is time for me, that time will just come and go. Like you can say, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing that," but if it's not on your calendar and something else comes up, it can very well get replaced with that something else that came up. So I love the fact that you talked about it, and I'm excited. I mean, it's interesting when you were saying graffirmations. It's so cool to actually. Gratitude for me is so important because it has us focusing on all that we have, the things that are going right, instead of looking at all the negative and what we don't have. Yes, you might want to have specific things in life, but you already have certain things that you might take for granted. It's always good to remind ourselves of that. So I love that. One of the things that you've done is, of course, you've trained thousands of sales professionals. And one of the things that stands out, obviously, is your ability to help people build those real skill sets, not just mindset. And we've been talking about that. What do you think are the most valuable skills that you believe, and this is for women, this podcast, so that you believe every woman in business, I don't know if the word is should, but every woman in business could at least intentionally take a look at so that they can master it when it comes to selling herself, her work, or her vision? Is I think one of the things I've heard just before you answer is a lot of people say I'm putting myself out there. And I started, pushing back on saying that because I always felt like if I'm putting myself out there, I'm not really putting myself out there as I am putting out the services that I have to offer out there. And I'm just being authentically myself in doing it. So I don't look at it as putting myself, Leslie is not for sale. Like Leslie is not the one thing I'm not selling Leslie to a client. I'm the transformation, what they're looking for, what their needs and wants are, like you've said. So when it comes to that, for you, and like I know you work with both men and women, but with the women that you've worked with, because I know women, for whatever reason, I think we're like that one we have that one thing about us that we're wired to actually feel a lot more, like really caring more about not just the other person, but what they think of us. So when it comes to selling ourselves, or I should say our services, what we do, or the vision that we have, what are some valuable skills that you believe every woman should have in their toolbox?
Well, I definitely believe that we all have to have conviction.
Mm.
And, you know, you think, "Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a no-brainer." But I find that a lot of people don't have conviction. And I'm talking conviction in your product, conviction in your belief in yourself that you can provide the value that you say you're gonna provide. I find that a lot of people hold themselves back on saying, "I can do this. I can help you. I can get you here," because and they may not wanna, admit it, but they're afraid they might not be able to. And your customers, your clients, your prospects can tell if you are 100% convicted in your belief in what you do and how you serve people. So I would say that you have to somehow, some way build your conviction. My formations help with that, because we have to constantly be telling ourselves. So that would be definitely one thing. A second thing that I would absolutely recommend is great communication skills. And I know, again, that's kind of a no-brainer. Okay, yeah, everyone knows that. But I talk about ethical influence, how to ethically influence people to make decisions. Because communication, the best part of communication is being really good at asking questions and listening. Listening not only to what people say to you, but to reading body language and voice inflection and to really pay attention to where people are at and what they're truly saying to you. And I know that everyone knows that, but in the sales process, it's so easy to get on autopilot. And you're so excited because you're talking to someone and you just want to tell them all these great things, all these things that you can do. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter so much what we say, it's what we can help them say and what we can pull out of them and how we can communicate the value and the solution that they want and need. And so we have to get really good at leading conversations with questions and what I call ethical influence. And those are a couple of the key things. Women are typically a little better because we have a tendency to be a little more empathetic. And I will say this also, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm shy. I'm an introvert. I'm not any good at sales." Well, I'll be honest, I was shy. I was an introvert. I was painfully shy when I was a child and first getting into sales. I truly think that introverts have a secret advantage over extroverts.
Yeah, because like you said, sometimes there was always that belief that, well, I'm comfortable in those, situations where there's like a crowd of people or a grouping of people. But they got, I know a lot of people who say that they're introverted and they have that listening skill. That's a superpower for them because that for them helps them to better understand first. So, yeah, you're right. There are people who have great extroverted skills, being able to go out there and be in larger crowds of people going maybe and doing speaking engagements, being in front of a large group of people, being in networking communities where there's a lot of people around, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're better at listening. The listening is really important. And maybe even making sure that you're not doing all of the talking. And I think that's really important. So I love that you brought that in. I want to ask you, because you've already talked about like being in sales, there's always that there's the hit and miss. You get a lot of rejection. So people say, no, not right now, not interested, already have somebody. It doesn't make sense to me, whatever those, the rejection words are. What's helped you, Becky, the saleswoman who's been in this industry for so long and now being able to confidently teach other people? What helps you to stay confident when results aren't immediate? And what do you tell your clients navigating that emotional roller coaster?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I was just doing some posts and some content about one thing that could be an answer to the last question, that's resilience. We have to all build resilience in the sales process. And I was thinking about it this morning, and in 40 years, I've probably, if I had to guess, and this could be a lowball number too, probably had over 200,000 variations of no, not now. I've got someone, I'm using someone, not interested. Or even I've had people back in the day hang up on me when I called them on the phone, varying, types of rejection or no's. And so one, whew, you want to build your resilience because as humans, as parents, as leaders, as whatever in any piece of your life, we need to be resilient. That's a superpower in itself. And so if you want to really develop resilience, take a sales job because you
Mhm.
really have to learn. But I guess what helped me, because there was a time that I did beat myself up about it because, oh no, I gotta know. Oh my gosh. But at the same time, I know that's logically, I know that's part of the process. You have to go through the no's to get to the yeses. That is just part of the process. And now I take it more and I tell my clients, when you're meeting with someone and when you're asking, take it as a blessing if someone tells you no, because you don't want to waste their time or yours. You are interviewing them for the opportunity to work with them as much as they're interviewing you. You're evaluating, is this a good fit? And if you take that approach, like, hey, I'm vetting you as much as you're vetting me, it feels more impactful and almost like, and a lot of times I say, hey, treat what you do like you're a doctor and you're trying to diagnose if you have a solution. What I do may not be a solution for everyone, and I'm okay with that. Go find the people that there is a solution that they need your solution. And the only way you can do that is to ask a question. And sometimes that answer is going to be no, I have someone. No, I don't need that. Hey, I'm good on that. I don't feel like I need anything right now. Hey, thank you very much. They just saved me some time. Now I can go
Yeah.
find the person that I really need to talk to that really needs me. My job is not about convincing people that don't need me, but to find the people that do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So I have a couple more questions for you, and I appreciate you taking the time today because I've been wanting to have
Absolutely.
you on the show for some time. And as I said earlier, I don't know what took me so long, but thank you so much. So after 40 years in business, I want to know, how has your definition of success evolved, and what keeps you excited and in love with the work that you do?
You know, Years ago when I took my Dale Carnegie course and then I went back as a graduate assistant, I remember saying, "Oh, I love this." I probably should have been a teacher if I, had to do my life over because I really think that Becky Davidson loves helping people and teaching people and mentoring people and supporting people. That really brings me a ton of joy. Of course, it's fun to prospect and to, talk to someone and everything just clicks and you are able to talk to them and have a great conversation and you close a sale. I mean, I get a kick out of that all day, every day. But now what really drives me is helping my clients close sales. I mean, I get because then I feel like it's a win for me because I've helped them get that. But I I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, a lot of women, and a lot of them have never had sales. Maybe they came from teaching or corporate or came from another position or had a little bit of sales somewhere along the line. And selling your own business is the hardest sales out there. I mean, truly. It's a lot easier to work for a company and sell a widget for someone else than to sell your own program. And so I see a lot of people that get discouraged and frustrated and haven't closed a sale for months. And I know that a lot of times they get to that point where they start to lose hope or start to think maybe I need to just quit on my dream. And nothing hurts my heart more than to see someone quit on their dream. And if I can help be the person that helps them solve the thing that's holding them back, there is nothing better than that, in my opinion, is helping people accomplish their dreams and have belief in themselves and have confidence in themselves to go out there and share what they're passionate about. That's what drives me, truly.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you actually kind of you started to actually go into my next question. Well, my last question for you is really, what advice would you give to, let's say, the woman who's listening? Because this podcast is, women-based, a women's empowerment podcast. Women in business typically are listening to this. So what advice would you give to that woman who's listening right now, who feels like she's losing herself in the chase for achievement?
You know, First off, you have to have a purpose, a mission, and a passion. And you have to have a no quit attitude, in my opinion, because we are going to all have ups and downs. And the other part of it, if you are a solopreneur, which a lot of us start as a solopreneur, entrepreneur that's out there building by ourselves, it can feel very, very, very lonely and isolating and overwhelming because you're hearing all these ideas and tips and strategies. And should I go with this coach or that? Or should I do this or that? And I remember that. I remember feeling it and I know how that feels. And so I think it's really important to find a community that you can really connect with, find a tribe, find someone, find a networking group, find somewhere where you can build true strategic alliances, referral partnerships, collaborators, supporters, allies, connectors, people that will lift you up, will cheer you on, will like your post when you post, will show up for your lives, will invite you on their podcast, or whatever, because we all need other people and we need the support. We need the encouragement. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money to get something. And so don't give up, but just find someone that can help you get to that next step or help you shore up the skills that you need. And if it happens to be sales, come on over. I'd love to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Becky, it has been a pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much. I love how heart-centered you are. It just exudes from you how you really want to help your clients reconnect with what they love, right? About what they do and being able to sell their products, their services without feeling like they're salesy and without feeling like they're pushy, but something that they're in love with doing. And, you often hear people say that when you're not sharing what you do, then you're not helping someone out there who could truly use your help. You're not allowing yourself to be out there, and that person who needs you is waiting for your voice so that they can hear you because they're
Absolutely.
they're looking for you, right? I've really enjoyed learning and hearing about your approach to sales through the lens of service, authenticity, confidence, and how you've used your journey to equip others with the skill sets and the mindset to succeed without losing themselves in the process. Thank you again so much for joining me. I
Oh,
really, really loved having you. Thank you.
well, thank you, Leslie. I really enjoyed it too. They were great questions, and I do love just sharing my passion, and I know you do as well. And you're doing great things out there. So I appreciate you featuring me and letting me share my gifts. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
And you are so welcome. And to our listeners, if you'd like to connect with Becky directly and learn more about her coaching, her sales trainings, how she can help you fall in love with sales again, you can find her contact information in the show notes. Remember, success isn't just about the next sale or achievement. It's about building a business you actually enjoy showing up for. When you lead with
Mm.
heart, stay grounded in your values, and trust the skills you've built along the way, you create a path that's both profitable and fulfilling. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing an extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Why is it that games make us feel so good or completely rage quit? These emotions you feel are mostly not an accident. People like me designed them. I'm Chris Cross, and this is Brain Arcade, a podcast all about the psychology of game design and why games hit us so hard. Each week, I bring on a new guest, designers, psychologists, storytellers, to break it all down with me. If you play, design, or just love games, follow now.
Electricast. Electricast.